This is my 1986 Monte Carlo SS that I've installed a 418 forged LS9 in with an Edelbrock Eforce supercharger. It has a Lingenfelter blower cam as well. It's a drive-by-wire because I wanted to incorporate the stock cruise control stalk on the column of the 86 Monte Carlo SS. The goal was really to have the car, except for a few minor differences or appearances, look and feel stock, but perform more up to late model standards. So that was really the goal in mind. That was also why I went with the drive-by-wire in terms of achieving the cruise control function. The pulleys and drive accessories was provided by the same company that or dealer, Wagner Motorsports, that sold me the supercharger. They manufacture some custom brackets as well as the custom pulleys. They've got an underdrive pulley for the supercharger and an overdrive for the crank, so I'm getting about 14 pounds of boost. I like the setup because they separate both the accessory belt from the supercharger belt, and they've got a good wrap on here. So overall, pleased with the company. This is an optional black anodized setup that they have. That was, I think, a couple $100 extra. The headers are from stainlessheaders.com. It's my design. They basically give you some brackets and some basic fittings, and then you mock it up in PVC. You send it out to them, and then they fab it up in stainless steel. They nailed my design right out of the gate. I can jack up the car and slide these out without removing anything. I don't have to remove the starter, the steering shaft, anything. I can just unbolt them and slip them out. The cold air intake is an air raid setup that I made custom out of their kit. So they give you one contiguous tube that you cut up into pieces and then adhere together where you want it. So this is one piece from the 45 to here, and then this is glued to a 60-degree elbow, and then this continues another piece of 90 down to a straight down to the air cleaner. And then I have a nice separation with an ABS window here that I put a grommet so that you can continue the wiring out for the headlights. In terms of the fuel system, it's Racetronics dual in-tank pump. This is more continuing on the theme of keeping things looking stock. This assembly was for a turbo Buick, the in-tank assembly, so it has the provisions for the fuel gauge, which work perfect for my application. The tank that I have is out of a 4.3 liter Monte Carlo, so it's got the appropriate baffling that you want for the pumps as well. I've got a Hobbs boost switch for the second pump, so the second pump only engages after 6 psi. And then this is where I decided to mount the fuel pressure gauge. As you know, you can see the firewall is loaded with clutter, and I really don't like leaning over to adjust and check things either. So the other thing is there's a nice channel that goes underneath the windshield washer fluid that this strap is actually stock here, so I just ran all the hoses along with the stock wiring, which was the only thing originally in here. This is the coolant reservoir for the heat exchanger, and then I've got the pump mounted down low here. For the PCV system, I use the Tracy Lewis Monster Catch Can. They've got a clean air side, so this is the clean air cap on the oil filter. This actually comes off very easy for oil fill, but this tube here runs to the clean side, so it's drawing clean air from the air intake. And actually, if you run a hose close to the air intake, there's actually no vacuum here, so this is actually drawing clean metered air into this side, and then the dirty side is coming onto the the driver's side valve cover as a draw. This draw is actually going into the can, so the can I have mounted low and in the front, as they indicate that you want it someplace where the vapors will cool and condense. And then the other two lines, I'll show you the draw to the can. There's a draw right here, just after the throttle body. And then I've got another one under here for when it's under boost. I ran all the lines, including the fuel feed line here. I'll tidy this up to try and keep things in one area, but I can I can dress this up at a later time. But it's really a nice setup. I mean, it's just crazy fast. I had a dyno. It's 660 rear wheel horsepower, 695 rear wheel torque. But really, the look and feel of the car is very stock. The car, as you see it, is the way I bought it. It was already monkeyed with, for you purists that think I've destroyed a nice car. It already had a 350 in it, so I got it for $3,900 with the 350 in it. Sold the 350 and 200 R4 for $900, and then went to town with the rest. So everything else is a stock look and feel. Kept the stock gauges. There's a fitting on the 4L65E for a mechanical boss for the speedometer, so that allows me to use the stock speedometer. As I said, the PCM for the drive-by-wire, I actually have wired for the cruise control that uses the drive-by-wire. There's an adaptive, it's just a pull-up resistor actually for the tach. The gas gauge, as I indicated, that's the in-tank assembly from Racetronics. That's off of a Turbo Buick, so the tanks are very similar. The temp gauge, I actually had an individual on LS1 Tech that turned down a stock Monte Carlo temp gauge to actually thread it into a metric. You can actually use some adaptive fittings to do the same, but this was actually a nice option. It was a really nice guy that helped me out. But for the oil gauge, that's exactly what I did. There's some metric to standard threads that I had used for the oil gauge, and then the voltage gauge is pretty straightforward. So the body is really, as you see, is the way I bought it. It's in really decent shape. It's not show quality, but it's pretty darn nice. So with that, I'll just start it up, let you hear the exhaust. Okay, that's it. Hope you like my video. More to come.